Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. Rudo, AJ, coming to you live on an Avalanche off day. It's not just the Avs series that is tied 1-1 right now. It is every series in the West and then two of the series in the East, too. So a lot of competitive hockey getting played. Is that true? Is it really competitive? Some of these 1-1 series have been two blowouts, one each way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then you have the Rangers just
bodying New Jersey.
Yeah. It's kind of shocking, actually. I mean, we're going to talk about it.
I mean, do you just want to start with that series? It's probably the least competitive of the eight.
Would you say biggest surprise so far of the postseason?
Yeah, not that they're down 2-0, but that the games have not been close. Yeah. New Jersey, I think, is a better team than they've shown, and I don't think they were ready for the moment. That's not that surprising.
Yeah, I mean, that was what we talked about in the preview is, hey, there's so much to love about Jersey, but learning how to win in the postseason as a group is a really tough thing.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, well, individually, a lot of these guys have some playoff experience, and like, what's Andre Palat doing in that room? Like, he's got like the magical Stanley Cup experience, so he'll be like, hey guys, get behind me. You're like seventh in line in that room.
Yeah,
like, are you kidding me?
Tough look there.
Yeah, like it's your guys have to play,
and that's what's surprising, right? They have the guys with the high end scoring talent at the top of that roster, and they haven't been producing goals.
What's been interesting, Jack Hughes has to figure out that time and space that he exploits so well.
Yep.
Goes away.
A whole lot less of it. Yep.
Yeah, and the fit of Timo Meier in New Jersey continues to just not
be weird. Yeah,
quite mesh. Where you're looking at it and you're saying, I bet I'd be willing to bet that next year they come out into training camp. He's a little more comfortable. The chaos of the year has ended. Then that guy takes flight as a Devil, but it has not quite produced the returns that we all expected when they made that big deadline deal.
Yeah, their offense really should, on paper, be a juggernaut.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't been. They're struggling to get one goal on the board in these first two games.
The one thing that you do think, though, hey, New Jersey was an unbelievable road team this year.
Top two in the league.
Yeah.
And does Boston even count? I mean,
they do. I mean, when you have when you have the best home record and the best road record, like, you just get props. But they're in their own, to transition into that series, too. They're kind of in their own little war there.
Florida came out and took it to them in the third period of game two.
Yeah,
man.
when you're tied 2-2 going into the third, the Bruins have a chance to go up 2-0 and really put that stranglehold on the series. And
didn't have it.
Florida just kind of beat them down.
Yeah.
On Boston's home ice where they were so dominant. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
and now no Patrice Bergeron again for Game 3. I mean,
that's turning into a problem for Boston real fast.
Yeah, it is really. That's an interesting one. Just we all kind of foresaw like the easy street part of this not continuing, but I didn't really see it in this series. I didn't think it was a very good matchup for the Panthers. But. Obviously nobody foresaw Patrice Bergeron just being like, well, I'm sick, can't play.
For sure.
Missing the first 3 games of the series.
It's interesting, though, because even in game 1, Boston didn't look great. They end up winning that game 3-1, mostly because Alex Lyons couldn't make a save. Yeah,
the first period and a half of game 1, Florida really looked like
they were pushing. Yeah.
They were comfortable, and it was it's kind of the Florida team that we thought that we might see at the beginning of the year.
Yep. And then it was a team that barely eked its way into the playoffs.
It really, really, really relied on the Pens choke at the end. I guess both the Isles and the Panthers kind of benefited from that.
Made some room there for them.
Yeah. So anyway, those have been 2 series that have just been kind of like, we've kind of watched them in passing and kind
of a bit more mundane series for sure.
They're interesting, but they haven't been like the primary focus.
Well, you get to the other 2-0 series, which is Canes Islanders.
Yeah.
Game 1, I think, is exactly what I expected out of that series. And then game 2 was not by any stretch, whether it be Ilya Sorokin letting magic pucks just float by him.
I mean, that second Canes goal was total horseshit, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just like, dude, this is the kind of thing that you need that kind of luck.
Yep.
To beat Sorokin in a best of 7. You have to worry about the Canes long term though. Now, there's no Pacioretty. Now there's no Svechnikov. Now there's no Teuvo Teravainen.
Broken hand in game 2.
That is a real tough task now when you're talking about a team that struggles to score, and in this series is struggling to score.
Yep.
Especially at even strength, they are not doing a great job of it. And we're just going to be real. Obviously, I'm the Islanders fan. I'm a little salty about it, but
I mean, that was a high stick.
it's the turn of events is the combination of the two really that kills
the call
you.
and the no call.
Yeah, they call the one. They make the one call, and you're kind of like, okay, you're
Just keep it consistent.
You're gonna live with it, and then Scott Mayfield gets hit in the face with a stick, and people are like, oh. Mayfield lifted the stick in, like he stick lifted it. And
it doesn't matter. It's never mattered.
It's like, oh, are we now we're having the inadvertent too many men conversation again? These things don't matter. It's a high stick.
Yep.
It's a clear penalty. It was total horseshit.
And then they lost the game.
Total horseshit. And then, yes, thank you for that. Yes, then they lost the game. Very frustrating. It's a very frustrating end to that game. Really just you don't want officiating to continue to be a story in the postseason. Like you know it's going to be, but you watch this combination of calls like that, and it sucks.
It's a perfect example of I do think people get wrapped up into this a lot of the time where a ref making a call or not making a call, it doesn't matter which way, has just as much impact. People say, I'll let the players decide the game. If you're not calling any calls, dudes are just going to start beating the shit out of each other.
Right.
Because they know you're not going to call anything, and it changes the entire complexion of how the game is played.
Yep.
So it matters just as much when they don't call one as it does when they do.
Players decide games when they cheat too.
Yep. Exactly right.
You get away with whipping your stick around and clipping him in the face, and at the start of a defensive sequence that ends in a game-winning goal. I mean, the whole thing sucked, man. But that series has gone what we thought it would be.
Yeah.
I picked the Islanders to upset. I know I wasn't alone in that. I still think that there's a decent chance just because they can grind you
all the way
into
down.
dust.
Yep.
And Carolina, their power play is kind of bailing them out right now. And they need that to continue. If that continues, they'll win the series pretty easily. But going back to New York, that place is going to be loud. It's going to be raucous in the other way. And we saw Carolina struggled badly on the road last year.
Struggled badly is an understatement.
I mean,
literally couldn't win a game on the road.
So and now they don't have Teravainen. Like the things are starting to
tilt against them.
Yeah, they're starting to stack up a little for Carolina, where it's like, hey, maybe they get out of this series, but do you think that they're serious to make a run right now? Like the Rangers got to be licking their chops.
Oh yeah,
they're up 2-0, and they're looking at now a battered Carolina team like
going,
like this,
feeling pretty
this
good,
is setting up nicely
feeling
for
pretty
us.
Good.
Yeah.
We can continue moving through the East here, as we'll have more to say about the West, I suspect. But
yeah, I bet.
The last series, Toronto, Tampa, it's been 2 blowouts, one each direction.
Yeah, and the series has already had everything.
Yep.
You had after game 1, a full-blown conspiracy theory about Wes McCauley, conflicts of interest. You're talking about the craziest shit that you could imagine.
I was telling you this the other day. It's crazy to me that Michael Bunting's headshot was so bad that everyone just completely forgot that Jake McCabe also hit Mikey Isamon in the head.
Yeah.
Like,
just smoked him.
No one remembers that one.
Yeah. And Michael Bunting, like, you want to talk about a trade that Toronto will live with? Oh, Michael Bunting for 3 games? For Eric Chernak for maybe the series?
Yeah. And the injuries immediately piled up on Tampa with not just Chernak, but Hedman has whatever it is he's dealing with, and then Isamon's out as well, which is less important, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's an important... And Mikey Isamont was a guy that like just had like a weirdly just like solid year. I mean, he bounced around half the damn league, but was good everywhere he went. And they need everything right now. They need all hands on deck. And the last time, the last time they lost a playoff series that wasn't to Colorado was that sweep to Columbus.
Yep.
And a big part of it doesn't get talked about because they were such a dominant team and the whole story was their choke and blah, 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 blah. But Victor Hedman was hurt in that series. Mm-hmm. And, you certainly know that I'd be willing to bet that if you went and checked out that Bolts Jolts guy on Twitter, he's making plenty of injury excuses already because the guy was crying of a storm during the Stanley Cup final about Braden Point and shit.
Life's tough, man.
And now you see the one thing that you do kind of see with Tampa Bay where you don't feel as bad for them is the war of attrition. How many times have they benefited from other teams having
being broken down,
high profile injuries against them in playoff series the last few years versus their relative health?
Well,
and now that they have started, with what happened last year in the final and with Point and then some of the other guys that they had hurt, that war of attrition, it's hard.
Yep.
It's hard to win that. And they wanted to pretend like it was just all them, like they'd just been so good and so dominant. But you need to get lucky with the injury side of this. And now they are squarely on the other foot. And no Hedman and no Chernak is a huge problem.
And with Hedman especially, we don't even know what that injury is.
Yeah.
It's super up in the air.
Yeah.
The Chernak one is like, Michael Bunting just blasted him in the head.
Yep.
That one I can be a little bit more upset
with. Was 3 games enough for you?
It was.
Really? It wasn't for me.
I mean, you know how I'd give him 10 if it were up to me.
For me, and I know that they say, oh, well, if you convert, the way that they convert the regular season game. I'm like, look, like I don't care about any of this. What I care about is the fact that Michael, that's as egregious a headshot as we have seen since Kadri's hit on Justin Falk.
And I'll put it to you this way. If it were up to me, I'd give him 10.
I thought it felt like, to me, it felt like 5 or 6, man.
And I'd have been fine with that, but I went into it thinking, the Dopes will probably give him 1.
Yeah.
So the fact that they gave him 3, I'm like, that's not bad.
And it kind of felt like it was heavy for a guy with no history, but also the hit was that egregious.
It was.
It just felt like. Also, Michael Bunting's kind of a psycho.
It just had all the hallmarks of a bad hit, with not only him jumping into it and catching him, but the flaring elbow and all of it. Every single thing was like, that's what you don't do.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was like everything about the Bunting hit was just so like out of bounds that it's like, you have to hit this guy hard with this. Like, this is ridiculous. So
it's the one thing I
do understand over 4 games requires an arbitrator. You don't want to mess with that during the postseason.
I thought it was 5.
It might be. Maybe it's.
Well, no, over 4 games would be 5.
I think it starts at 5.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I will say, and I get it, missing 2 of their top 3 defensemen is going to make his life harder. Vasi looks human this year.
Yeah, Vasilevsky just was not good enough in game 2.
Yep.
They needed him to be a little better. And, some of the obviously there was an onslaught there, but Vasi just wasn't good enough.
Yep.
Just flat out wasn't good enough.
So I don't have a good read on how that series plays out, but Tampa fighting an uphill battle for sure. Anyway, on that note, if you've been attacked by Michael Bunting, you may need to call Bacchus and Shanker. Call 222-2222 today. Doesn't have to be Michael Bunting. If it's a car accident and you're not at fault, even if you weren't driving, if it's a rideshare situation or you were biking down the side of the road, if you're at work and you've been injured and it's not your fault, Bacchus and Shanker has you covered. You can go to coloradolaw.net or call the 2 number. They'll give you a free consultation. If they think you have a case, they'll take your case on for free. You won't pay a single penny until you win your case. So it essentially costs you nothing to get what you deserve with Bacchus and Shanker. They've won over $1 billion for their clients. That would be the entire salary of the Avs roster for like 15 years. And hockey players make a lot of money.
You just buy a franchise at that
Yeah,
point.
straight up. straight up just go buy a new one. Put it wherever you want. Go take a look at them, coloradolaw.net. They've been doing it for 25 plus years, so they know what they're doing at this point. They've been around the block a few times with Bacchus and Shanker. Also brought to you by the fantastic folks down at Pins and Aces. You can go check them out today.
Waiting on my shipment.
Oh, yours isn't in yet? I already got mine, so.
Last time we'll talk about this off air, but it was.
Yeah. Either way.
I'm excited to get it, man.
Yeah, I know you ordered at least a hat.
I got a hat, a beanie, and a speaker.
There you go.
Because I really wanted a Bluetooth speaker.
Going to be that guy bumping the jams.
Yes, I would like to be the guy bumping the jams, please. That was part of the point.
Their hats are sick. I said it on the last night's post-game show. Have you seen the Avs colored hat that they did? It's so sick. I want that one so bad. So go check them out. They're the official golf apparel merchandiser of DNVR. You go to pinsandaces.com, use the DNVR code. You get 15% off hats, shirts, pants. I'm sure they have golf cleats. Are golf shoes cleats? Are they spikes? I don't know. Spikes? Yeah, okay. They also have plenty of other stuff for you. Spikes. Beer sleeves and liquor sticks. Go in your golf bag. I didn't
know what those were until I was on their website, and I was like, "These are cool."
Yeah, the liquor stick is like super cool. I'm like, "Oh, you are the cool guy in your foursome if you have the liquor stick for sure." Pinsandaces.com. Go check them out. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Getting into some of these series in the West, which is. Again, I don't know if I would say they've been super competitive games necessarily, but you have 4 1-1 series.
Yeah, I mean, we could breeze over Jets Golden Knights just because they're happening at the same time as Avs.
We haven't had the.
I don't imagine we're watching that series.
I've watched back the highlights, but if you wanted the full story, no. Yeah, but I think we can talk a lot about Minnesota Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says.
It's been a series, man.
I mean, first of all, you start off with a banger of a double overtime hockey game.
Yeah, it was a great game.
Gustafsson more or less steals one for Minnesota.
Sure.
Dallas also helped by not putting pucks into open nets.
Yeah, I mean, let's so the Joe Pavelski thing.
Sure, we can start there.
Happens in that game.
Yeah.
And I mean, kind of controversial. I mean, I think it just that was a tough combination of things to have happen.
Yeah.
Because you look at the hit, it's definitely interference. It's definitely predatory.
It's insanely late.
It is, yeah.
There is if the one angle from like behind in the corner, you watch Dumba come across. Pavelski gets rid of the puck. Dumba decides he's going to hit him anyway.
Yeah,
and then he blows him up. And it's not his fault that Pavelski's stick comes up or anything like that. But
I think where the concussion comes into play, the stick comes up and hits him in the face.
Yep,
and then his head smacks on the ice.
Yep.
You look at those two things that happen. That's so tough because. The hit is predatory. The hit is late. The hit is illegal. But he doesn't hit through his head.
Right.
You look at like the bunting hit where he catches Chernak in the
head. Yeah.
Right in the head.
Yep.
It's a blindside. Like it's so much worse of a hit.
Yeah.
And that you're talking about principal contact and all that, and all the head stuff from Pavelski is kind of a
freak thing.
Yeah. Kind of a. Just like an unfortunate result of the hit.
Well, the stick snaps and he's out immediately.
Yeah,
so he can't protect his head as he goes down.
If the stick doesn't come up and hit him in the head, we don't know how that changes the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe he still goes down and hits his head, and that's you're still looking at the same end result there. But it was really hard to watch. And then he's out.
Well, and especially for a guy who has a history of stuff like this.
And like I don't imagine there's a lot of soft spots amongst the Avs fans for
Joe Pavelski,
for the Dallas Stars in general.
Yeah, fair.
But Joe Pavelski has had a great career. He's on the tail end of it. He's in the final 5 years of it.
I know a lot of Avs fans lament him dominating the Avs, but I've always had a soft spot for that guy. I've always loved him.
You love that this is a guy that overcame a bunch of deficiencies in his game to have what has been just an absolutely great career.
I mean, best tip game of all time?
I mean, I really wouldn't even know how to try and make that list.
Make a comparable statistic of that.
Yeah, but I mean, you could talk about one of the premier tip guys of his generation, for sure.
For sure.
We can at least comfortably get into that, but this isn't how you want the playoffs to be decided. And we talked about that war of attrition with Tampa Bay, and like that's not how you want that series to be decided. You don't want
everybody
no
wants
Hedman and
best
no
on
Turnak.
best.
Yeah,
for sure.
you don't want Tampa Bay and Toronto being decided and having it end in 5 or 6 with Toronto comfortably taking it because the Tampa Bay just doesn't have a defense anymore. You don't want that, man. Especially when Michael Bunting comes back later on in that series. If Eric Chernak doesn't return, you're like, well, it's just not a good trade.
Yeah.
It's a huge advantage for the Maple Leafs. But in this series too, Joe Pavelski, the second line of the Stars was really good this year with Jamie Benn, and Tyler Seguin had like a fine year. It was fine, but Wyatt Johnston, a great rookie season. Like the second line was good.
Pieces,
but their bottom six is kind of. Yeah. And now with Pavelski was such a huge part of that top line next to Robertson and Roope Hintz, and you could see the physicality of that first game, the intensity of it. Jason Robertson, you could see the whites in the eyes, man. Well, he was a deer in the headlights in that game.
It was okay in regulation, but that game got into overtime.
And it just, as it went on, because he scores a goal. They score the 2 power play goals early. Dallas feels like they're vibing. Their life is good. It's good to be the Stars. Everything's going their way. And then when the intensity of that game ramped up, man, Jason Robertson went away from it. Yep. And it was striking to watch a star player
shy from the moment.
I mean, everybody, we used to joke about how the Avs broke Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah.
Because Johnny Gaudreau got into that Avalanche playoff series.
Got erased.
They rocked his world. And he was not the same for 2 full seasons.
Yeah.
It took Johnny Gaudreau to get back to being to normal. And you're looking at Jason Robertson now, and Game 2 wasn't a whole lot better.
It didn't matter, obviously, but we'll talk about Game 2 in a second.
I'm just curious to see what's going to happen with him because I tell you, man, watching Jason Robertson react the way that he did, it was striking to me that you talk about a player not being comfortable in that environment. He doesn't like contact, doesn't like this.
Yep.
This guy's suited for it, that guy's suited for it, all that. But to actually see it in a game like that, and especially with such a high-level player, it was really surprising. And I'm hoping that doesn't stay the same. Like, I'm hoping
it's just an adjustment period.
Yeah, I'm hoping it was just a bad night,
Sure.
But it really, if I'm a Stars fan, I would have been watching that like, oh my God,
this is bad. Yeah.
And then how that game ended, like you feel sick to your stomach. Yeah. The Stars are totally dominating.
They should have. Marchment just straight up missed an open net.
Well, good stick.
Sure, but
good stick, Colin Miller.
All he had to do was get it past one stick, and
I mean, it's that's one of those bang bang plays, where you really expect that guy to finish that off, but you have to keep Colin Miller.
There were multiple other quality chances for Dallas to end that game too.
It can't be Colin Miller; he's on the same team.
Whoever it was, doesn't matter.
Now I'm totally just drawing a blank here.
We'll never know.
Yeah, it doesn't. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
They come up short there. The bad bounce kicks out the Hartman, and game's over. And then
good finish by him, and you got to give him a little bit of
totally did a great job out in front after nearly dying.
Yeah, he looked like he was in serious pain and laboring through it, and not gonna extol the virtues of Toradol here, but
so you get that game, you get something like a 950 out of Gustafsson. And then Dean Evison starts Marc-Andre Fleury for
I don't
game
get it,
2?
Man. I just don't get it.
Like what?
I just don't get it.
And the Stars blow him out in that game, and most of the goals probably aren't even Fleury's fault.
You're really not even looking at Fleury going, "Hey man, what are you doing?" But I think some of the aesthetics of the goals
Certainly the Ropehint's first and second goals both are bad looks.
Just getting beat cleanly, flopping around on the ice, kind of moving around, and just kind of making a show of getting rocked.
Yep.
Really, really unimpressive performance from him, and I think should slam the door shut on that.
I don't know how you can play him again.
Yeah. I just even if Gustafson goes out and gives you the exact same performance.
Yep.
I don't know how you go back to Fleury.
It's
tough. Why did you go to Fleury in the first place?
That's what I don't understand. You just got an A+ performance from your other goaltender, and you moved away from it for no apparent reason.
Yeah, if you had that kind of a problem with the guy in the game, why didn't you pull him?
Yeah.
Such a weird to decide to go with the other guy. It made no sense.
Yep. Very, very strange decision by Evason. And clearly
like a hitman to you.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, like, I guess I don't actually know what a real hitman looks like, but
I don't know.
I guess the media archetype hitman that we get in movies and stuff, like
he's got to shave his head all the way bald.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
No, he doesn't need to be Agent 47, man. I'm just saying, like, Dean Evason kind of looks like he might know where Jimmy Hoffa's buried.
I don't know. He looks like the rest of the NHL head coaches. They're all Bond villains, man.
It's just we were talking about this.
Yeah.
We were talking about this the other day with Gerard Gallant.
Yeah, exactly. Like Dean Evason fits that bill, just like the rest of them. So,
yeah.
And I don't know.
Anyway, weird decision. He might know what happened to Jimmy Hoffa, but we don't know why he went to Marc-Andre Fleury in game 2.
And that series now going back to Minnesota, though.
Yeah, back to Minnesota. Who's not in Minnesota right now is Joe Pavelski.
Yep. Did not travel.
Yeah, that is a big factor there for that series.
Yep. So
it's not great.
Still think Dallas can do it in that series, but the other side of that is the Avs don't want to get ahead of themselves, but they're watching those two teams beat the absolute crap out of each other through 2 games.
Totally.
And got to be loving it.
Yeah, one, and as much as the physicality had picked up last night in Colorado, Seattle, Colorado was the aggressor in that.
Yep.
They were the one that kept ratcheting things up to a different level. So you definitely are feeling like, okay, you're in a pretty comfortable position right now watching war take place on the other that part of the bracket. And then Avery, I agree with your mom. Jay Woodcroft gives me the willies.
He's definitely got some creeper vibes. Yeah. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he's a good guy, but
yeah, I mean, I'm sure Dean Evason's not actually a hitman.
If he was, could you imagine?
Yes. That's kind of the genesis of this conversation.
Just because he looks like one doesn't mean you could imagine him doing hitman things. Anyway.
All right. I guess it is true. Just kind of a leap from looking mean to killing people. Fair enough. Fair enough.
It'll be really, really interesting to see, I think, how all the Western series play out. Because you're at 1-1. Mm-hmm. Every away team, every higher seed feels like, hey, we got one on the road.
Yeah, so they all flipped home ice, and now they have to try and protect the house, right?
Yep.
Of the 4, we haven't really gotten into L.A., Edmonton, but not. Of the 4, nice.
Whoa, sick. Camera died. Love that for us.
I was wondering what Alyssa was up to. Of the 4 series, though, it's cool. We
they
can't
can
do
hear
it.
us. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, it is what it is. Of the 4 series, which teams do you think are most comfortable heading into these situations on the road? Because I kind of feel like after where we got to, the two teams that I think ended up somehow maybe in the best situations are Vegas and Colorado. 2 teams that took a while to get going. They lose game 1. They're the heavy favorites, but then they both kind of win going away. You know, I know it was only a 1-goal win for the Avs last night, but watch how that game turned out.
For Colorado, it's one of those spirit-crushing wins, right? Where you spot them a 2-goal lead, and then you smack them down. And I agree with you in Colorado's case. I do think they're set up quite well here, especially as a team that was very, very good on the road this year.
Yeah. Big concern here, the health of Lars Eller.
Yeah, after crashing into the boards like that,
and then did not play again.
Yeah, and
we would like to know what's up with Lars Eller. That is going to be, until I see him back out on the ice, I'm nervous.
Officially, Bednar said not sure if he'll be good to go for Game 3 today. So we'll see exactly how that develops. I actually kind of feel okay about LA.
I think LA is also in a position where they should feel okay.
And like they had to steal one. Don't get me wrong. They had to squeak that one out to make this a 1-1 series.
Yeah, but I mean, so let me ask you about that series.
Sure.
Connor McDavid, not really much of a factor.
He has not been, but Leon Draisaitl is popping off.
Yeah, but I mean, if you had to pick between one guy going off, because you weren't going to keep them both down.
Sure.
So this feels like a best case scenario in terms of keeping one of them under control.
Limited, yep.
But you're still only at 1-1. Does that inspire confidence that you've kept McDavid down? Or is it a concern that you kept McDavid down and you're still tied in the series?
So my problem is Korpisalo.
What? Okay, sell me on this.
He's basically the reason they lose Game 2. A nothing shot from Klim Kostin up the boards, slips by him, and they lose the game.
Fair enough.
2. And
it's just not a good goal.
It's not. And as you're saying, the problem for LA is they're not a team that's going to put out high octane scoring on their end of the ice. They've taken what Edmonton's given them, and Edmonton has given them a lot. But it's just not sustainable hockey to spot Edmonton a 2-goal lead every night and try and weasel your way back into games. And when you do that and then your goalie lets you down, it's just too much of an uphill battle for me.
It's kind of what the Oilers have had to deal with the last
it's
few years.
Exactly what the Oilers have had to deal with. So
they kind of had to deal. I mean, that when Velarde tied it at 2, that little play, that little tuck.
Yep.
And you're just looking at it like,
how do you
God,
prevent that from going in your net?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm. That's such a tough series because I think getting back into LA will allow LA to be a lot more comfortable in terms of
we get whatever matchup we want.
They can really hard match Kopitar or Danault. I would go Danault against McDavid.
Me too.
And just because the Kopitar line has a little more offensive punch to it. I still don't know. I continue to forget to actually try and find an update on this. But what the hell's up with Kevin Fiala?
Yeah,
if he doesn't play in this series, it
becomes
really hard for them.
But
Victor Arvidsson buzzing around, creating a lot, not finishing a lot. The exact opposite of Adrian Kempe, who has a couple goals in the first game, but
he looked awful in Game 2. He was
so bad in Game 2. You tweeted about it, and I was like, "Yup." Watching Adrian, I was really surprised at how bad I thought Adrian Kempe was. And you look at with the goalie pulled, they kept trying to go Adrian Kempe with the puck on the zone entry in the middle of the ice.
It was just not.
Every single decision he made was bad.
Yep.
Every play that he makes is bad.
It's hard to win.
It was really rough to watch. And that is like such a good player.
And you do bring up a good point earlier, though. That series might just come down to which goalie makes more mistakes. Because in Game 1, you're 20 seconds away from winning as Edmonton, and one just squirts through Skinner.
Yep.
You end up losing that game.
Yeah. On a legit goal, too. I mean, that's such a nice passing play by LA for Iafallo.
Yeah, the game-winning goal was beautiful.
Yeah, that's good hockey. But that's a series in a weird place right now.
It is
for sure.
Game 3, pivotal anyway, but maybe even more so in that series.
Yeah, and is Dallas is we're kind of ranking these a little bit, but is Dallas in like the worst position here? Just because no Pavelski,
They're on the injured side. Minnesota's going to grind it all the way out with you no matter what.
They're not going to hand you the Fleury
right
thing
again. Yeah.
So now you're going to have to go against what should have been their clear number one goaltender to begin with.
Every day the series goes on, you start wondering, Eriksson Ek, where it's his situation, can he come back for this team?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think anything is leaning Dallas's way in that series. Doesn't mean they can't do it.
For sure. It's just, and we're not talking about who's going to win the series, who's not. We're just talking about 1-1 series going back into, going into different buildings.
Yep.
Which teams are best set up here? Which teams are feeling the best right now?
Yeah, I would say Dallas has to be close to the bottom there, and then.
Although, I mean, coming off of the blowout, but again, you're not going to get Fleury again.
Yep.
So
yeah, look, it was great. You got Fleury. You're not going to get another hat trick out of Rope Hintz. For as good as he is, you can't expect that to happen again in the series.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So it feels the least sustainable for Dallas. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
Because of what we talked about, they played good hockey in game one and lost.
Right.
When you're playing good hockey and losing, you're in trouble.
I mean, it certainly is it's in the postseason. You just can't be losing those.
Yep.
It's just such a blown opportunity to be in a different spot.
Yeah. And
with the Avs, one reason I think we feel like the Avs are in a good position is because it just felt like the Avs showed up.
Yep. At the start of the fifth period of the series, you actually got what you expect.
And it was such tilted ice. It wasn't like, hey, it was a little bit even, but the Avs had a small advantage here or there. It was hard tilted in Colorado's favor.
Yep.
From the second period on, they outscore Seattle 3-0, and the play isn't even close.
It's dominant.
And you're talking the one scoring. They have one very, very good scoring chance. The 4v4,
and it doesn't go their way. Yeah.
And and then they have other scoring chances that they were fine, but
not they should have scored.
None that were of that caliber.
Yeah.
And you're talking about maybe 3 or 4 scoring chances, like real scoring chances.
Yeah, not a
high number.
Hey,
you pay a goaltender for this reason right here.
Yep.
Well, it feels like Colorado really has that momentum going in.
I agree.
But you can't. I mean, they just can't continue to lose a guy a game.
Yeah, they have to find a way to stay healthy.
I mean, Lars Eller getting tripped and then sliding hard into the boards is like one of those hockey things.
What can you do? Sure.
It doesn't quite feel like Jack Johnson somehow
magically getting hurt in warm-ups. Yeah. Just total nonsense.
Yeah, where you're just like, dude, what is this?
Well, I don't know if you can protect from injury, but you can certainly protect your eyes from the sun with Shady Rays. Get over to shadyrays.com. Use the DNVR code. You get 50% off your order if you order 2 pairs or more. They've got tons of awesome sunglasses, whatever style you want. The only one I know what they're called is the Aviators, and those are my least favorite. I much prefer the
It's not good.
The open-rimmed bottom ones. I don't know what they're called, but those are my style. I'm all about them. I feel like a 1980s WWE wrestler at that point.
Nice.
They have whatever you need, though, different polarizations as well. They even have ski and snowboard goggles if that's your thing. So it's all covered, and it is, in fact, all covered for the first 30 days. No matter what. You break them, they'll replace them for you. You lose them, let them know. They'll send you another pair. You don't like them, send them back. They'll switch them out for you. You can try something else. So Shady Rays, they're taking care of you. Go check them out at shadyrays.com, or if you're local, they have a brick and mortar in the Park Meadows Mall. And then, once you got your Shady Rays on, you can turn your television's brightness all the way up while you're watching Fubo TV. Go check out Fubo TV at FuboTV.com/DNVR. When you order from there today, you get 15% off your first month. You can watch the Avs, you can watch the Nuggets, you can watch Altitude, you can watch all the sports you can imagine. They've got 140 different channels. So if you want to watch, Premier League or something, you can go do that too.
There are other things that they try and get me to watch when I'm on there.
Yeah.
And I just don't because I'm usually just watching hockey. But
I'm here for the hockey.
I'm there for the hockey. I'm also there for the Nuggets. That's how I've been watching the Nuggets.
That's fair.
So.
It's, Obviously, the situation with altitude isn't amazing. Nobody loves it.
Yeah.
But Fubo TV is one of the few ways you can actually watch it normally. You get the app, you turn it on, it's right on your TV. It's just like you're watching cable. So make your life easier with Fubo TV.
Yeah.
FuboTV.com/DNVR today, or use the QR code right on screen. Again, the DNVR code gets you 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Some other news and notes, Megan, over at Avs practice today. They were talking about it. Gabe Landeskog is going on the trip with the Avalanche, not to play, but I've seen the chat often talking about, well, the leadership and all that. He's in the room with the guys. He's talking to them. He's there at intermissions, things like that. So he's around the team, a part of the run in some way, at very least.
The emotional support captain.
There you go. The ESC. Sometimes that's the best you can do, all right? You got to live with what you can.
We were hoping Megan wouldn't be able to pop down to the show and we could ask her how the Eagles playoff series is going.
Yep.
I know that they won
game one in overtime.
Stop right out, baby.
Make every Avs trade ever. They make them look like a genius.
That's right.
It's crazy. Even those ones.
Yeah. We'll get an Eagles update at some point.
Yeah, for sure. It'll come on an off day here sooner or later.
Yeah. It's just been normally I try and keep up with those games, but with both Avs and Nuggets in the postseason at the same time, cuts get made.
Yep. And for what it's worth, Lars Eller and Jack Johnson also both going on the trip.
Yeah.
So how injured are they? We don't know.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
It's not egregiously bad for them to stay home or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different story, those guys going there, and then we'll just see how they feel while they're there versus like a Joe Pavelski where you're like, hey, this is
not happening. Yeah.
So, a little different.
So, it could be worse. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we can just...
We're rolling into this conversation.
Yeah, anyway. I mean, no Lars, what do you do? Do you go back?
Probably just put Newhook at 3C, right?
Well, yeah, so you probably then flop what was your fourth line? Sure, it was really your third line last night.
That's how he used it. Yeah,
with LOC, Helm,
yeah,
and Nieto, and then it's a Myers, Newhook, Malgin fourth line.
I pick if you want Myers at center, fine, whatever.
I mean, boy, who cares at that point? Yeah. Myers or Newhook, it's whatever. But I think that's the answer, because if you had Andrew Cogliano healthy, you would prefer that.
No, he's jumping in for sure. Yeah,
but if he's not ready to go, then I think it's Ben Myers.
Yeah, I would expect it to be Myers as well today. We'll see exactly how that plays out. But
as much as I like Ben Myers, it's a big hit, man.
Yep.
Because Lars Eller, one of the reasons why I've liked Lars Eller through 2 games, he's always going to be kind of a stylistic misfit for the Avs. But
I think it's even more amplified by the fact that, hey, you're now going on the road. Eller can help you with a little bit of that mixing and matching that your opponent's going to try and do.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, they might have that. I don't know how healthy he'll end up being. He could play, but
yeah, and I'm really curious also. Since we've talked about how the Avs don't really seem to care, and this was not a series to be like
really in depth
really
on the matchups.
Yeah, with the coaching decisions of who's matching, but
sure.
Hextall looks like he wants to put Yanni Gourde consistently against Nathan McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon kind of ate him up last night.
It was a weird night for McKinnon because he played really well and had no points.
He played really well. He had no points. But he has a really dumb penalty. And then he has you could criticize the effort on the shorthanded goal.
For sure.
Where Gourde kind of gives him the stick lift and then pushes the puck from behind him.
It was definitely a lazy back check at best.
Yeah. And you could definitely, there's an element there where you could be critical of McKinnon's play.
The other side of that, he essentially gets 2/3 assists by winning faceoffs that lead to goals.
Yeah, and he finishes with 8 shots on goal, 4 hits, and a blocked shot. Like, he's all over the place, right? He's, for me, used the speed really well. He was stressing out Seattle's defense in a way that didn't happen in Game 1. When you saw in Game 1, they were able to pack the house defensively, block a lot of shots, keep things to the outside. Well, part of that success is because they keep Nathan McKinnon contained. And part of the failure last night is that they don't.
Yeah.
You watch the way that they have to, the way that McKinnon draws attention, and the way that him alone with the puck, when he's putting pressure on teams, he just peels that structure apart a little bit.
And you watched it in all of the second and third period. It made Seattle chase the game a little bit.
Yeah, it made him chase the game
more than a little bit
the whole time, basically.
Yep. So it becomes so much harder when Nathan McKinnon can get going like that. And we saw in Game 1 some of the opposite. Not that McKinnon played poorly, but Seattle was respecting him at the blue line, and that was the strategy going in.
Yeah.
They said, hey, if we can just keep him in front of us.
This is all the strategy a lot of teams have of, hey, we're going to give him the blue line. We'll back up a little bit. We don't want him to beat us wide. We don't want him to beat us in the middle. We'll just keep him contained on the wall. We know he likes to pull up and try and make a play from there. But it turns out when he does that stuff enough, he makes plays.
And it expands beyond McKinnon even too, right? Val Nichushkin's game-tying goal just beats a guy up the middle of the ice.
Yeah, so went back and watched that. He gets off the bench. The big key there is Jamie Alexiak is slow to change.
Yep.
And when Taves sees it, you're in the second period, so each team has
the long change,
has the change there. So they've got to go. Their defense has to go. And so Alexiak heads off. He's a little lazy on the change. Dunn gets off the bench. Nichushkin gets on for Lehkonen. And Lehkonen goes in at the end door. Nichushkin comes off in the middle of the ice and is about a step ahead of Dunn. And Dunn is doing everything he can.
Yeah.
And then Will Borgen, who's the right D next to Alexiak on that pairing, cuts across to be the lefty who pressures Rodriguez at the blue line, and that puck gets through him. He's tired. He needed a change. And it was his clear that ended up on Taves' stick. So kind of a beast of his own creation there that ended up in the tying goal there.
But just gone at that point.
Yeah, it's a great job by Taves to catch them in the change. And that's, again, why we talk about why possessions, even if they don't end in goals, that they end in you build that momentum.
Yep.
You tire them out from defending. They make a tired mistake from Borgen with a bad
ends
clear
up in the back of their net. Yep.
And 6 seconds later, it's a tie hockey game.
Yep. 6 series tied 1-1, 2 series 2-0. AJ, how many of these 8 series go 6 or more?
Boy, I sure think Edmonton, LA.
I would pick that one for sure.
I still think Dallas, Minnesota.
I would pick that one. I think you sneakily could pick Isles, Canes.
I will pick Isles, Canes. I just think their injuries and stuff it's just tough right now. I think it's just tough sledding.
Yep.
I still kind of like Vegas and Colorado's chances to sneak them out in 5, a competitive 5.
It's not going to be free for sure.
Yeah, I just wonder how much of I guess Game 3 will determine how much was last night the Avs found something and how much was it they just had a good couple periods.
Right.
Because if they really found something and they really started to turn it on and start to play their way,
the series is going to look real different.
Yeah, then you're going to have a different. It's going to be a very different feel in Seattle.
All right, so 3, 4, 5 series could go 6 or 7.
I'm really worried about Toronto, Tampa Bay getting that far now because I think those defensive injuries
that could blow it out a little bit. Yeah,
it puts them too far behind the 8 ball.
Yep, it's going to be tough.
But also counting out, not believing that Tampa Bay is going to win a game in Tampa Bay is kind of a tough sell for me.
As human as Vasi has looked, any given night, that dude could just decide that Tampa wins.
I mean, he looked awfully human in the Stanley Cup final until he didn't anymore.
Yep.
And locked it down. I mean, life was so hard for the Avs those last couple games, scoring goals.
Yep.
And that's how he's always been. He just gets better as series go. So, I don't know, man. I would say the majority of them.
Over half? All right. I like that answer.
I think maybe the one that you really are looking at just how dominant it was. Rangers Devils feels like that could be over.
That one
in
feels
4 or
like
5,
it could be quick for sure. Yeah.
The Devils really need to find something.
They can't just give up 5 goals a game.
And we talked about, hey, do you trust Vitek Vanacek in a playoff series? Like,
No.
I wonder how Washington feels as the team that was like, we just let both of those guys go. And Samsonov gets rocked in
Both
game
of them
1,
have
and
not been
Vanacek
great,
gets rocked in games 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Where, hey, they missed the postseason. A lot happened that built into that. But also, like, wonder how justified they feel right now being like, we were not about to pay those guys.
It's hard to be the Avs and follow that strategy of picking up goaltenders. Anyway, we got to wrap up for today's show. We appreciate all of y'all hanging out with us. We'll be back tomorrow with everything pregame, watch along, postgame. As always, it's playoff season, baby.
Yeah, Megan should be back part of the crew tomorrow.
Yep. We'll have
Jesse
her on
in Seattle, so.
doing the hard work for us out there. We appreciate you all, and we will see you on the next one.